guys, it's Misha and welcome back to my channel. So I do know one thing for certain, right? If you are, unfortunately, a bleach demon, then every day you wake up and you think, how can I make life less frustrating for people of color? I have some good news for you today because we have a list, 100 ways that you can do just that. Now this list was created in 2018, but Vice decided to tweet it out again recently and show us this is still very relevant. So we're going to be taking a look at this list today, but before we start, please make sure you are subscribed and have hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. As someone with very low tolerance for racist bullshit, I've managed to surround myself with white people who are cognizant of their privilege and strive to make the world a less terrifying and frustrating place for people of color. This means that I often deal with said white people asking me what they can actually do to affect change. So here, anxious allies of the world, are 100 simple ways to be the change. It's not nearly comprehensive, but it's somewhere to start. Go forth and disrupt our harmful racial paradigm. I am so excited. Let's go. Number 1, just because you can't see racism around you doesn't mean it's not happening. Trust people of color's assessment of a situation. Always? Why? What about the white person's assessment of the situation? Should we always trust that? Should we never trust that? I don't think it makes sense in either case to always trust a person just because they're black or just because they're white. Number 2, don't assume that all people of color share the same views. That's rich coming from you because you just wrote 100 ways that white people, you grouped all white people together, could make life less frustrating for all people of color. So while I agree with this, you should practice what you preach. Okay? Number 3, don't assume or guess people's races. This is not a fun game for us. I've seen plenty of videos of people who are looking at mixed race individuals talking about racism and they say, well, you're not black enough. Okay, so if you look white and you have that privilege, okay, so you can't speak on this issue. I haven't seen many people just guess people's races for fun. I can definitely see how that can be annoying. If someone tells you they're from Uganda, don't say, I went to Nigeria once, just please. Why? If someone's from Europe and they're talking to someone else from America, let's say, and the American says, oh, I went to this country because they know that they're European. Is that offensive? Is that racist? Or is that them just trying to strike up a conversation and say, oh yeah, I visited that continent? I don't think this is the worst thing in the world. I think you'll get over it, truly. Number 5, related. Don't refer to Africa as a country. Yeah, don't, because it's not. So I definitely agree with that one. Oh, and rest assured that literally no person of color ever wants you to get back from holiday, show off your tan, and excitedly exclaim, look, I'm almost as dark as you. Cease and desist. At the same time, though, don't make fun of people with pale skin and say, oh, wow, you bleach demon, you look like a ghost, because that has become acceptable. We have normalized that for some reason. Don't do that either. Don't assume that a person of color knows everything about their country of heritage. Do you know everything there is to know about America, Germany, Sweden? That's what I thought. Yeah, I agree. Don't assume we can run if we're black. Do math if we're Asian, have drinking problems if we're indigenous. I agree with that one. And don't assume that people are racist if they're white, because not all white people are racist. Regard us as autonomous, unique individuals, not as representatives of our race. Yes. Agreed. You should take your own advice. Should have thought twice before making a list like this. Don't make embarrassing jokes to try and be down with people of color. We'll laugh at you, not with you. Yeah, I agree with that one. Don't rinse our culturally specific memes. They're ours. Go enjoy that weird one about the plums. I don't know what this is referring to. If you're at my house party, don't turn off The Weeknd to put on Arctic Monkeys. Okay, this one is very specific, but it happened to me once. I'm not over it. The audacity. Okay, haha. Moving on. Avoid phrases like, but I have a black friend. I can't be racist. You know that's BS as well as we do. Well, yes, you can still be racist if you have a black friend, but the chances of you being racist do decrease if you're willing to befriend a person of color. If someone is truly racist and sees another race as inferior, chances are they're not going to be friends with that person. When you endlessly complain about how terrible white people are, you are being that terrible white person. Jeez. Yeah, I agree with that one. Don't say it like, I know what it's like to be a person of color. I'm a ginger. I have never heard anyone say this, and I'd like to add that at least people of color nowadays, they get represented a lot. In fact, there are now a lot of race swaps happening, unfortunately, when you have a character they were described as being white and they get a black actress or actor to play them. Ariel, for example. So that happens a lot. They race swap gingers. Don't question someone's blackness if they're light-skinned. It's not your place. Other black people can make sure that light-skinned black people are cognizant of their privilege. It's up to the black people to decide how much white privilege they have. Or don't worry worry about how black someone is or how white someone is. Number 17, never try and tell a person of color what is or isn't racist. We can't leave it up to interpretation. Okay, like let's say you're in a really bad mood and someone says something to you, you can't just say, oh, that was racist because you're feeling down, okay? Because then people will start losing their jobs, they'll get excommunicated from their friend groups, all because you felt offended. That's a serious issue. So we should have a clear understanding of what is and isn't racist. It shouldn't depend on who you're talking to. Otherwise, the word loses all its meaning. The same thing goes for homophobia. Same thing goes for transphobia. You can't just ask, oh, this trans person thinks that this is transphobic, but this one doesn't, so it depends. For example, there's a lot of racism towards Asians in the Black community, and when you speak up about it, when even Asian people come out and say, hey, this was my experience, they're shut down a lot of the time. So if you ask a racist Black person, oh, is this racist? They're probably going to say no, because they're racist.
While I was walking down streets from my high school to Walgreens, I was walking with 3 of my friends from both China and Taiwan. There is a car just rushed through us, driven by an African American, shouting that go back to your home, like go back from where you are from. A white lady just parked right by us and say, are you okay? Are you hurt of anyway? We're not hurt. It's just shocked, scared of our safety. And this white lady kindly asked, can I call the police? Can I do anything for you? We should not distinguish people by their race or gender or anything. Black people can be racist. White people, sorry. Oh no. I will drag this. I just mean that we have to look people individually. They are
prejudice with power.
All right, you're losing sight of the movement.
Watch shows that are created by people of color. Again, watch shows that you like. I used to watch Everybody Hates Chris. It was one of my favorite shows growing up because it is genuinely so funny and I loved it. And never did I think, I really like the show, but I can't relate to them because they're Black people. Guess what? People from any race can watch that show and like it because it's good. But what's happening now is when you take established characters and you just race swap them and you say, oh, look, that's what you want. DI, diversity, there you go. It's actually crap because they prioritize that instead of having a good script, making funny jokes. That's all an afterthought. Have a critical eye when watching TV and movies. How are they portraying people of color and why? What purpose does it serve? They're Black, they're white, they're whatever. They're mixed race, they're Asian. Who cares? Who cares? If it's a good character, why do we have to analyze and think, why are they there? What's the purpose that they serve? If a character you assumed was white in a book is portrayed by an actor of color in the movie, embrace it. Whiteness is not the default. Neither is Blackness. Neither Black or white is the default. It depends on how the character was written. Support plays written by and acted in by people of color. The world of theater is overwhelmingly white. If the play's good, I'll support it. If a play is awful, people shouldn't be forced to pretend to like it just because a person of color was involved. Refuse to go to club nights or drag shows, that's where it should stop, that use culturally appropriative acts. Okay, if you have kids, buy them dolls of color and books with characters of color. Buy the kids what the kids want, as long as it's age appropriate. If you have a daughter and she likes this Barbie, get her that Barbie. Doesn't matter what skin color the Barbie is. Donate money to grassroots movements around you that are run by and support people of color. Support small businesses owned by people of color. Black owned. Black female owned, Black female trans owned, Black female trans gay owned, Black women female trans disabled owned. Bro, if your product's good, people will buy the product. People will support your business. You don't have to include a biography. You don't have to tell us your race. You don't have to tell us your gender. Just work on your business. It would be strange, right? If you had white owned, support my small business because it's white owned. Don't assume people of color can't speak English. Who is assuming that? I mean, if you're assuming that, definitely don't. But also be patient if our English isn't perfect. Are you multilingual? Probably not. It's hard. Yes, I am bilingual, and if I'm speaking to someone whose English isn't perfect, I don't get impatient as long as they're trying to speak English, because it's useful to know English if you're in America. Just don't assume we want to be white or want to assimilate, and don't pressure us to do so. I don't think people of color want to be white, just like I don't think white people want to be people of color. I think everyone should be content with whatever skin color they were born with. Recognize that you can't assume someone's religion based on how they look. Not all South Asians and Middle Eastern people are Muslims. Not all Black people are Christian. Not all East Asian people are Buddhist. You get the idea, of course. Duh. Remember that not all people of color are straight. What? But I thought all people of color were straight. Whoever wrote this, she's just making this up. I really, truly doubt she's encountered a white person who said, yeah, because all people of color are straight. Remember that people of color are not inherently more homophobic than white people. Yes, although there does tend to be more homophobia within the Black community in America. However, of course, not all Black people are homophobic. People can be Black and gay and disabled and trans and middle class. Blackness is expansive. It doesn't look one way. Keep this in mind. Yeah. Duh. When we talk about race, we're not just talking about men. Repeat after me. Intersections of race and gender exist. I thought all Black people were women. I really did. She just has to fill up the 100 spaces. So she's just putting whatever she thinks of, even though this never happens. Remember that it is Black women and Native women and mixed race women who are most likely to be raped in their lifetimes in America. You cannot be an advocate against violence without considering the impact of race. Then let's talk about race and the grapist. But we never seem to want to do that, because then you have to talk about the grapists who are people of color, and that doesn't fit with the narrative. So let's move on. Don't ask Black women if it's our real hair, and don't judge Black women for wearing wigs or weaves or having relaxers. Okay, then let white women do whatever they want with their hair. Me personally, I don't care what you do with your hair if you're a person of color. So you shouldn't either. Don't touch our hair. That goes for any race. Don't touch anyone's hair unless they want you to touch their hair. If you have a Black girlfriend, please make sure that your shower is always adequately stocked with conditioner. Never that 2-in-1 stuff, we beg you. I think whoever wrote this is the privileged one. Remember that having mixed race children is not a cure for racism or a way to live out weird racial fantasies. Yeah, I mean, I would hope anyone who is starting a family with a person of a different race, that they're doing it because they love that person. If you're trying to start a mixed race family, sit down and deeply interrogate your intentions. If you do have mixed race children, make sure that they have access to people who look like them and who understand their experiences. If you have a partner of color or children of color, trust and believe that you can still be racist. You're not exempt. If anything, you have even more of a duty to examine your behavior for the benefit of your loved ones. Well, again, yes, you can still be racist, but it would be unlikely. It would be odd, to say the least, if you hated Black people but married a Black person. Look around your workplace. Are the only people of color cleaners or assistants? What can you do to change that? The answer is almost never nothing. I'm thinking of that quote from The View.
If you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh, that's no.
In the sense that,
No.
you know what I mean? Like, when I'm saying that...
No, but in all seriousness, what would you do? Would you go up to them and say, yeah, you're fired because you're not white? What if they need that job? Don't make us be the de facto diversity guy at work, or at least pay us extra to do the labor of diversifying the workplace. Yeah, imagine you go up to your boss and you say, you know what? I think I deserve a raise. I'm Black. Refuse to speak on an all-white panel regardless of the topic. Well, to keep it equal, should you refuse to speak on an all-Black panel? If there are only a couple of people of color in your seminar, don't wearily stare at them when the lecturer poses questions about race and expect them to answer everything. I agree. If you're in charge of making curricula, make sure there is work by people of color, especially women of color, on the reading list and not just in the weeks dedicated to race. Well, I don't think there should be weeks dedicated to race at all. Commission people of color to make work about race. Commission people of color to make work that has nothing to do with race. Don't say anything like there are two sides to every story or play devil's advocate when it comes to conversations about race. Yeah. Be close-minded, only hear from one side, only one perspective. In those situations, just listen. It's never useful to say stuff like, but what about the white working class? Have you thought about non-white working class people's needs? Don't vote for racist politicians? Can't believe I need to say this one, but it seems like possibly, maybe, some of y'all did not get this memo. Exactly. Why was Biden elected?
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Research your candidates. Who has progressive policies that won't needlessly criminalize people of color? Vote for them. Exactly. Don't just listen to people who call a politician racist. Actually look into what that politician is saying and decide for yourself. Good point. Remember that Black women are not here to save you from yourselves. You've got to put in the work too. What? Using your white privilege to be on the front line between people of color and the police at protests, you're at much less risk than us? Record police encounters you see involving Black people. Share alerts when ICE is planning a raid. Stand up to Islamophobia wherever you see it. Listen when Black people say, I'm not comfortable in this situation. You've seen Get Out, haven't you? Get Out? Is that really the best thing you could have brought up as an example? Don't have dreadlocks if you're not Black. Just don't. Beyond being offensive, it's just not suited to your hair type. Do literally anything else with your hair. Nah, people can do whatever they want to their hair. Don't even think about saying the N-word. Even if you're alone, even if you're listening to rap, even if you're alone and listening to rap. Now I wonder what happens if a white savior is listening to rap music in their room and let's say she accidentally says the N-word. She's just rapping along and she says it. Would they have like a mental breakdown? Similarly, don't use the word and then they put a bunch of racial slurs, even if you're repeating what someone else said or reading from a text. I agree. Remember that your queerness, womanhood, transness, class, background, disability doesn't exclude you from white privilege. Yeah, I'm sure that the gay, homeless, disabled person on the street is just thinking, oh, my white privilege. I feel so bad about it. Don't assume, full stop, that you can understand what it's like to experience racism. You can't. That's the whole point. Understand that nothing in your life has been untouched by your whiteness. Everything you have would have been harder to come by if you had not been born white. Be grateful for the lesson when you're called out on racism. Getting defensive won't help. Move past your white guilt. Guilt is an unproductive emotion. Don't sit there mired in woe. Just be better. Just do better. Recognizing that fighting racism isn't about you. It's not about your feelings. It's about liberating people of color from a world that tries to crush us at every turn. And remember, being an ally is a verb, not a noun. You can't just magically be an ally to people of color because you say you're one. It's something that you must continually work on. Alright, I am still waiting for the list to drop about 100 ways that people of color can make life less frustrating for white people. But it's been a while since this was made. I don't think that's coming out anytime soon, nor should it. Nor should this list have ever been created, because it's racist. It is racist to assume that all white people are a certain way and all black people are a certain way. I would love to hear your thoughts on this list, so make sure you comment below. Also remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and follow me on my other socials in the description. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye.